In reciprocation for the earlier question I had, Guy Clark had to pull a lot of magic out of you to perform with you for 26 years. You gave him a lot. What did you give him? What did you find or feel that was your gift to him?
Well, first of all, I don't know that I gave Guy Clark a lot. I hope I did. What I was trying to do is, and I guess this was your question, what did I give him? That was your question. I tried to give him back just a little bit of what he gave me. You know, he gave me so much wisdom and opportunity and freedom and all of that. But I guess if you want to get specific, what I tried to give Guy was something and someone consistent that he could always count on. No matter what was going on in my life or his life or between the two of us, I tried to, when we took that stage, I always tried to play my best and act my best, and I tried to do it with a good amount of respect for Guy. I always tried to remember that it was his show, and I was just allowed to be there, you know. But I think that consistency, even off stage when we traveled, you know, I tried to take some of the burden off of him as far as the driving and the getting the bags on the train, you know, getting the seats on the plane and all of that stuff, just to make him a little more at ease with traveling. He didn't really like the traveling part that much, you know. I kind of look at it as a challenge. I get into it, but and maybe the biggest thing was Guy was not usually nice to sound men. Bill's back there doing a wonderful job, you know, and we always had a wonderful sound guy that would try to accommodate us. But Guy, I don't know what the deal was. I think part of it was he didn't speak the language. He couldn't tell you to take, you know, cut a little bit there at 5K or boost it here. And so he basically, he would say, turn it up. Because he had some hearing problems, and so inevitably the sound guy would try to accommodate him, and then what happens when you turn it up? You get feedback. And then Guy would just sit there while it was squealing, you know, and he would just wait, and the guy would say, well, Mr. Clark, I can't turn it up anymore. It's going to feed back. And Guy would say, that's your problem. You figure it out. And it was always this button heads every sound check. And so I would usually go around, I'd, you know, wait till Guy was out having a smoke, and I'd go around to the sound man and go, hey, don't take it personal. He just doesn't feel good. And, you know, it's... So I tried to head that off at the pass. You know, one time we played a place and the sound was terrible. And after the show, we're back in the back room settling up with the owner, and the owner was so happy. He comes in and he lays a stack of cash this big on the table, and he goes, Guy, we made $3,000 more than what I offered you. And he pushed it over to Guy, and he said, I want you to have it. And Guy goes, he pushed it back to him and said, buy you a new blank sound system. And he walked away from that $3,000, but the guy did.
Well, good for
He
him.
bought a sound system, and now it sounds beautiful, and it's great, and
Oh, that's a great story.
I don't know. I'm not sure I answered your question, but I had fun trying.
Well, I know that as busy as you are, and you have been for a very long time, traveling and performing, you must be forced to be very deliberate about creating time and space to write. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Well, that's something I'm in the process of doing something about, because I have sort of let it go a little bit. You know, I've been trying to just kind of catch it when I can, but I need more dedicated time, and I plan on doing that this coming year. I'm kind of about to wind down this year, and when Guy passed, I didn't know if my phone would ring ever again. You know, I thought, well, you know, there it goes. Luckily, the phone did start ringing, and it's you know, I'm very thankful it just keeps ringing, and I've been afraid to say no to anything, really. So I've been working a whole lot, as much as I can possibly work, and which is all good, but it has cut into my creative time, and I'm starting to feel, you know, a little edgy about it. Mm-hmm. Something's a little off. I need to pay attention to it. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
you know, in terms of songwriting, although each experience in the creative process of writing a song is unique, some come as a gift, others are the product of protracted labor. For the sake of our audience here, and especially for our students who might aspire to be songwriters, could you take us through one of your creations and kind of talk through that process a little bit?
sure. Let me think of a good one to... Well, how about, so that I don't really have to play the whole thing. The one I did earlier about, you probably you didn't get the title of it. It's called I Will Come Back Again. The one about once I was a Christian and I lived upon this earth. Okay, now, even though that came to me all at once, but I knew what was happening, and I knew that, I knew how to assemble it. I knew. And this song is, and this is something important for you songwriters. Part of it is the song and writing the song and everything, but then your presentation of the song, in my opinion, is equally as important as writing the song and creating it. In this song, for instance, everything I do is thought out. It's not I don't just get up and play it all the way. Once I was a Christian, I lived upon this earth. It's the subtleties that bring this song to life. Once I was a Christian, I lived upon this earth. That little lick. That's a lick I worked really hard at because I felt like it had some tension. And then it kind of resolved, and it let me go on to the next verse. And so that little chord pattern there was something I really worked hard on. And so I talk about once I was a Christian, I lived upon this earth, and I died and went to heaven, and I got my second birth. And I came back as an acorn and I grew to be a tree. My thinking on that was, okay, I started it off, it's kind of heavy, you know. Once I was a Christian and I got a second birth, and I know there's going to be people out there probably going, oh, here we go, he's going to preach to us, you know. So I wanted to immediately, I didn't want to lose them because of that, so I immediately brought in something a little lighter. I came back as an acorn, and I grew to be a tree, but I made a mighty shade when the sun came down on me. And then I felt like it was time to move on, you know. In one life, I was an outlaw, and I lived up in the hills, and I'd run the alcohol. Even that word alcohol, I don't just say alcohol. I ran the alcohol to the buyers from this. It's alcohol. I was a moonshiner. I was an outlaw, and I lived up in the hills, and I ran the alcohol to the buyers from the stills. It's those little things that I spend a lot of time working on. And then even when it comes, in this particular song, you'll notice there's really no chorus. It's just a bunch of verses. There's no chorus, no bridge, not even a repeating line. It's kind of a rare bird. And I felt like, you know, I think I do like 4 verses, and I felt like it needs some release. It needs some relief. People have listened to 4 verses, and every one of them are the same thing. And you can feel it. You can feel it when it's time. Something needs to happen. And I thought it needs an interesting little instrumental passage. And I thought to myself, what's one of the most recognizable instrumental passages that I can think of? And my mind instantly went to, let's see, no. I am a lineman for the county. Okay, the instrumental on that song is played on a baritone guitar. It's real deep, fat strings, and it's very low, and it goes. That doesn't sound very good there, but on a fat, deep baritone guitar string, it booms. It comes through the speakers, and you know it when you hear it. And so that's why I do this trick where I put the capo with the string open down here, and for my instrumental passage, I actually play below that capo down here. Watch. Dynamics, I come that way down. Once I was a singer. That little pause, even that little pause, I thought out. It's everything is important. The words are important. The music is just as important as the words. The breath that you take is just as important as the music and the words. The pauses, the stuff you leave out may be more important than the stuff you put in. Because when you leave space, it gives the audience time to fill in that space with their own visions and images. And so I guess to bring it to an end, don't just write out a lyric and then come up with a chord structure and play it, you know, and start. If you got a volume meter, you don't want it to start here and play all the way through and then you end there. It's a song needs to breathe and it's alive. You take us up, swell, and then drop us off the other side of that wave and come down here in the valley for a minute and let us anticipate the climb again. And then when we come to the big finish, we feel like we've taken a nice journey. We didn't just like walk across a flat prairie. We got to see some canyons and climb some hills. And that's my songwriting lesson in a nutshell, I guess.
That's a good one.